Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Chad Kelly. I'm going to be your host for the next hour. I'm educator for AzureWell, the dietary supplement division of Azure Standard. The focus tonight is on crafting supplements you can trust, what most labels don't tell you. And in really thinking about the content, what we wanted to present to you tonight, it kind of took me on a little trip down memory lane, and it made me think about when I first came to the world of supplements. I have to tell you guys, I knew nothing. I came seeking answers for a family member, my grandfather, who was dealing with a pretty poor state of health at the time. And in fact, Western medicine had kind of given up. They didn't have any more answers. And so I remember how intimidated I felt. I realized that there was a lot of marketing to weed through. I realized that it was going to be a little bit difficult for me to discern fact from fiction. So I only wish that I had known some of the tips, tools, and tricks that we're going to be talking about tonight over the next hour to discern supplement quality, label transparency. So some good stuff you're in store for, and we're going to have a good time, some fun while we do it, lots of good giveaways. In fact, we're going to do multiple product giveaways as we go along tonight, including a grand prize giveaway at the end, which will be for a full year supply of an AzureWell product. So that will be pretty cool. And in fact, I've got my wonderful colleague with us tonight, Kelly Payne. She is our marketing extraordinaire at AzureWell and really the glue that holds us together. She's absolutely wonderful, but she's going to be our Vanna White tonight, if you will, helping us with some of the giveaways as we go along. So thank you, Kelly, for being here. We've got a very special guest with us tonight, Dr. Fleetwood. And I actually got to witness Dr. Fleetwood in action at Barbara O'Neill's conference in North Carolina a few months ago. And I have to tell you, what a force of nature Dr. Fleetwood is. A lady that's truly as kind and caring as she is wise and brilliant. But Dr. Fleetwood, she earned her doctorate of naturopathic medicine from the prestigious Bastyr University. She is a registered pharmacist and she is a vitalist. And for those of you that may not know what that means, quite simply, we know in Western medicine, as wonderful as it is in many ways, it's often about symptom relief and just chasing symptoms without actually getting to the root in many cases. As a vitalist, Dr. Fleetwood understands that the human body has that God-given innate intelligence for healing. So as a naturopath, it's about identifying the obstacles that are standing in the way of that process. Perhaps a great example of that vitalist philosophy and movement is the book that Dr. Fleetwood just released a few months ago in February, as you see right here on your screen. What a wonderful work. So much great information, so many practical tools for living in terms of cardiovascular health, metabolic wellness. Who doesn't need that? And we're actually going to be starting off tonight with a giveaway of her book. So if you'd like to be entered into the drawing for that, using the comments section, go on and type in #book and send it over. No spaces, #book, and that will enter you into the drawing. Dr. Fleetwood, good to see you.
It's good to be here, Chad. Thank you.
We were excited about doing this webinar for obvious reasons, but also just getting to hang out with you for an hour. That's a treat.
Again, I have missed you.
So thank you so much for being here. Before we do the giveaway, maybe we could just start off with, maybe you could share a little bit about your inspiration for writing this book.
Oh, absolutely. Two main reasons. One is the lack of informed consent. When you go to a doctor, any healthcare practitioner, it is a legal and ethical obligation that healthcare practitioner tell you the risks and the benefits of whatever the intervention is that they're offering, as well as the alternatives. Who's getting that? So that's one reason to write the book. The other is the very presence of iatrogenesis. Iatrogenesis means harm by medicine. And this particular book, it's the first in its series, but it talks about the drugs that you might be taking for something else that have caused high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or high blood sugar. That's my pharmacist brain talking. But whenever I complain about something, I typically have the solution. And there it is, the disease reversal portion for how to reverse those very issues. And that's what my naturopathic doctor brain does.
Well, it is an incredible work. And, as great as the information is, one of my favorite parts of it are just all of the practical lifestyle tips, things that anyone can really put into action.
Mm-hmm.
And also you cover the spiritual. It's not just on the physical realm. So it's an incredible work. Kelly, why don't we do a giveaway?
Sure. Let's see here. We're going to show you our random generator here that'll pull from the comments. And if your name is chosen, we will get a hold of you after the webinar. So let's go ahead and draw a winner.
And I will send you my book.
You will receive the book.
This is kind of fun. Woo!
Leslie Murphy.
Leslie!
Okay. Congratulations, Leslie. And for everyone else that did not win, if you want to purchase a copy, you can get it at christyfleetwood.com/books. So Leslie will get in touch with you after the webinar tonight and get that book to you.
Awesome. Enjoy.
Congratulations, Leslie. So we're going to be diving into dietary supplements tonight, talking about quality, label transparency, all sorts of good tips and tools. But maybe before we do that, Dr. Fleetwood, I was thinking maybe, I know you use dietary supplements a lot with your clients, and maybe it might be good kind of just as a jumping off place. Maybe you could share with us, what are those non-negotiables for you? What are those maybe the top 3 things that you look for in a dietary supplement that you're providing to your clients?
Okay. Yeah, that's great. I could list some of the excipients. We're going to cover some of those. I ask my clients, first off, why are you taking this supplement? If they can't give me 2 valid reasons, and one can't be because I heard it was supposed to be good for me. Okay, no. Give me 2 reasons for being on that particular supplement. A second would be the excipients, because people are looking for what the label says they should have, but you got to look below that to see what else got put in there. The worst of the offenders. So, and I teach people how to read labels. So if you can't read out loud those excipients and know with confidence what they are and what they're going to do to you, don't put it in your mouth. It's not meant for human consumption. The worst of the excipients, in my professional opinion, I'm going to list my 3 top awful ones. Magnesium stearate, which is in pretty much everything now. Parabens, which are in a lot of health, the so-called healthy skincare products. And sodium benzoate, which is a known tumor potentiator. Don't like those things.
Really good advice there. And I really loved the first thing that you said, because it's all about seeing your client as an individual, which we all are. We're all unique. We all have a million different variables going on. So there's no one size fits all. So we have to really treat ourselves as individuals to determine if something is right for us. And actually, with that being said, that brings us to our next point. What you see on the screen, we're really excited to share with you that AzureWell has been very hard at work on creating a database, a practitioner directory, a curated network of trusted practitioners. Because as Dr. Fleetwood is describing that individualized approach, it really takes a village, right? We all need to be surrounding ourselves with professionals so we can manage this health journey that we're on in this complex world that we live in. And this directory is going to be launching on Azure Standards site in the near future. But until then, maybe you're a practitioner that's with us tonight and you're interested in joining forces, or maybe you're interested in seeking out a practitioner there's an email address at the bottom of your screen. We would love to hear from you, and we would love to go on and connect you with this directory. It's info@azurelivingwell.com. But what's so beautiful is this network of all different practitioners, different health healing modalities. What they all share in common are your values, and that main value of embracing whole, nutrient-dense foods, those nature-based approaches. And that's what it all starts with, right?
That's huge.
So safeguarding your health, it all starts with intention. And I can't really think of a better living example of a purpose-driven life completely connected to intention than the founder and CEO of Azure Standard, David Stelzer, as you see on your screen. Many of you probably have met David in his many travels. He stays so busy going to homestead events across the US, or maybe you've heard him on a podcast or seen him in an interview. But David, he comes from a multi-generational farming family, and he is a true pioneer in organic agriculture. I think David was probably talking about organic long before many of us had ever even heard that term before. But he takes the quote that you see on your screen very, very seriously. The farmer is the guardian of the nation's health. Our health begins with the food that we're consuming oftentimes, right? And so David talks all the time about all of those thousands of phytonutrients that you find in food that God created for us. Those are 100% dependent upon the soil that those foods came from, that microbe diversity. So those regenerative organic practices are huge for that. But this is very personal for David. Many of you know some of his story. As a little boy, David had some major health challenges. He had some major respiratory issues, some asthmatic symptoms he was dealing with. And at one point, his doctor actually shared with his parents, at the current rate of his decline, that doctor didn't give him very many more years to live. By the grace of God, they came in contact with a professional that truly understood the healing potential of whole foods, organic foods, foods grown without those agricultural chemicals like glyphosate, those pesticides. And wow, what a difference it made for David's life, and also for the health of his family members that also took notice and started changing their diets, their lifestyles. So years later, David and his family started one of the first all-organic farms in the Pacific Northwest. And now, as you guys know, years later, Azure Standard, which many of you are a part of, is now the largest direct-to-consumer independent distributor of organic, non-GMO health foods in the nation. So isn't that just such a great reminder? Sometimes those obstacles in our life, those difficult journeys that we go on, or maybe a family member goes on the other side, we look back and we're like, thank you for that divine guidance. Because of that journey, think about through Azure Standard, how many people now have access to clean foods, whole food nutrition, which is a beautiful thing. So that's really that intention that ties all of us together tonight. We really appreciate you being here. You might be a buying club member with us. Maybe you're one of our drop coordinators, and we really appreciate all the hard work that you do. Maybe you're a practitioner. Maybe you're a client of a practitioner. But regardless of how you know Azure, we thank you for being a part of our community. And it means the world to us because it's all about inspiring healthy and abundant living, right? And it's really people first. It's you first. We always want to maintain contact with who we serve. We want to earn your trust. And we're going to be talking about how we attempt to do that tonight. We're going to be talking about supplement quality, transparency, a lot of specific details. But first, one of the first things that I think about when seeking out a supplement brand for myself, for my family, I like to ask who owns them. In the comment section, share with us if that's important to you, the ownership of a brand, who owns them. You know, I think about years ago, I was doing education for a really well-known dietary supplement brand. And I'd actually joined them because their supplements had made such a huge impact on my grandfather's health and his life. So I was there to get the good word out, right? And I remember one day we had a mandatory call. I tuned in and I saw on the screen, welcome to, and it was the logo of a big corporate conglomerate that we would probably all recognize. And I remember my heart skipping a few beats, and I thought, what does this mean for the formulation philosophy? What does this mean for the ingredients, the safety, the testing, the efficacy? And guys, that's kind of become the norm in the health food world with health brands, dietary supplement brands. So many of them have been gobbled up by corporate interests. And I often think the intention of a brand is only as good as the intention of the owner, right? So at Azure, it's people first. We want to listen as much as we share. We always want to hear from you. We want to hear your criticism, your feedback, maybe if it's a product that you need for you and your family, and maybe it's a testimonial. I know David was sharing a couple weeks ago with us, one of his favorite things is in his travels, getting to hear from you guys, your testimonials, how these foods have impacted your life. That is what it's all about. So always prioritizing your long-term wellness over profit and earning your trust. So please send in your questions tonight. I know Dr. Fleetwood is with us, so you probably have some questions for her. So we're going to be picking a few questions at the end, and then we hope for the questions that we don't get to reach out to you within the next couple of weeks. So we'll figure out that process. But we want to earn your trust. It's really important when you're purchasing a supplement for yourself or your family to trust the brand, to trust the label, right? And it's really difficult to trust a brand if they're not being transparent with you. So that's kind of the first stop on our journey tonight, is talking about real transparency. What does that look like? At Azure, we recognize that God made food perfectly. So it's all about harnessing nature's gifts without corrupting them with harmful substances. That's kind of something that Dr. Fleetwood's already alluded to. Mm-hmm. So we have a long growing no-no list at AzureWell of ingredients that we avoid. And I don't know if you're like me, but I tell you, one of the first things that I look at on a supplement label is my eyes go to that other ingredients section. If I'm taking something for my health, I don't want that food or that nutrient to be delivered in a base of chemicals, of synthetics, right? And I know a lot of times you'll reach out to brands that have all these chemicals, and they'll tell you, well, it's in such small amounts, it doesn't really matter. It's safe, it's fine. But at AzureWell, we believe there's no such thing as an inactive ingredient. Every ingredient, regardless of the amount, can have an impact in the human body. So Dr. Fleetwood, mm-hmm. I already mentioned this a little bit, but this is a huge factor in your practice every day.
Yeah.
If you want to illuminate this a little bit further, that would be great.
Well, yeah, because if somebody needs to take something one time and it's got something gross in it, like talc, there's no reason for us to ingest talc. Mm-hmm. As a one-off, that's no big deal. But if I'm asking one of my clients to take a supplement a couple of times a day for an extended period of time, I want that to be clean. I don't want to put anything that is potentially harmful into their systems. They're coming to me for health. So I want to be able to provide health. I want clean ingredients, which is why I'm switching everybody over to AzureWell. That and the fact that the money trail really does matter.
Absolutely. And you make a really good point there too, because what we think of as in a small amount, if someone is taking it daily, long-term, or they're taking multiple products that are made with those ingredients, it's not so small anymore, right?
Correct. And their pharmaceuticals, I can guarantee you, as a pharmacist for all these decades, contain a lot of what you have on your avoid list.
That's very true. And you know, I think all the time, in an ideal world, you would look at the other ingredients section and not see anything listed. And we, in fact, do have quite a few products at AzureWell where that's the case. Really, really clean ingredients. But the reality is, sometimes you do need an ingredient to maintain that product integrity, maybe for production flow. You know, when you think about working with plant materials, they're plants, they're botanicals. They're going to vary a lot in moisture levels and their texture. And so sometimes you need something for product flow on the machinery. You can't have it sticking to the machinery.
Right.
For ingredient stability, consistency, moisture control. So if we do have to use an additive at AzureWell, as you see right here on your screen with our whole food C complex, we're using plant-based excipients. Things that this organic rice hull that you see in the other ingredients, it might cost us a little bit more. It might make production a little bit slower, but that is our food grade replacement for something like magnesium stearate or silicon dioxide, and certainly that attention to allergen-free excipients as well. We also often hear about fillers. And when I used to hear the word filler, I would just kind of think of fluff, you know, like an unnecessary ingredient. But fillers sometimes have a role to play as well. You think about maintaining a consistent dosage from capsule to capsule. You think about in a formula, you can have some ingredients that have a bigger role to play than others, like in this Recover Immune Vitality Complex, for example. You've got that BGF immune that's rich in all of those immune-supported beta-glucans, that incredible Immunel ingredient, and you need something to hold them, right? So you have all different possibilities of fillers that you can use. You can use maltodextrin, you can use cellulose powder, but what about if we could use a functional food filler, something that doubles as a filler and also contributes meaningful nutrition to the formula, right? So,
that blew my mind because I've made capsules, I've compounded for folks, and I was already an AzureWell fan when I heard about your nutritive fillers. Because I had called about a product. I'm like, why do I have reishi mycelium in my astaxanthin? And I was told about this concept and was like, oh, that is genius. Absolutely genius. I love that. Love it.
It's pretty cool. And we could talk all day on reishi mushroom, just all the benefits that it has, right? But what a wonderful complement to immune health.
So
And
good.
while this product is on the screen, it would be wrong not to give it a little attention here. If any of you are seeking an immune support product, take a look at the Recover Immune Vitality Complex. It really is an incredible complex formula that works on multiple pathways to support immune health. But just one of the cool ingredients alone, the Immunel, that source of nucleotides, which are the building blocks of RNA and DNA in the body, that one ingredient supports immune response, tissue renewal, reinforces the gut barrier. And we all know for immune health, you don't have good immune health without good gut health, right? We often hear immune health begins in the gut. So having something that actually addresses healthy gut barrier function is a really good thing. Let's move on to proprietary blends. That is huge. Proprietary blends you see on so many supplement products out there. It is so common. So what on earth is a proprietary blend? A lot of supplement brands will use it. On the right of the slide here, where it says their label, that's an example of a proprietary blend. We have a long list of ingredients, but you have no clue how much of any of those ingredients you're actually getting. You can see a long list of impressive herbs. Like we all love ashwagandha, right? But how do we know how much we're actually getting?
Exactly.
And why do companies use proprietary blends? There's probably all sorts of business reasons to use them. Number one, you don't have a lot of standards to comply to from lot to lot. You can shift things as you need them because you haven't really disclosed the amount of any of the herbs. Maybe you're getting a better price on one herb versus another for that production run. You might change the formula, but you don't really have that standard to adhere to. With AzureWell products, as you see with this Racing Mind Relief, see every ingredient, full disclosure on that milligram amount that you're getting. Now, Dr. Fleetwood, with your clients, just asking you very directly here, using this label on the right, this proprietary blend, and going back to addressing your clients as individuals with their own unique needs, is there any way you could use this proprietary blend label to determine if it's appropriate for your clients and their needs?
It's not my favorite because it is a proprietary blend. I don't know how much of the passion flower is in there, or the valerian root, or the skullcap. I mean, the ingredients sound good, but I would much rather see what you've got on your label, because then I can determine 3 capsules is going to give me exactly this amount in this ratio. Ratios can be very important in botanical blends. So I noticed on the last one, the immune formula, you did have a proprietary blend on there, but you tell us that it's 50% of this. Okay, that gives me some more information. Their label, this right-sided label, is I would look for a different product, honestly. And I would be happy to find the label on the left, because then I can taper it to my client's needs. For example, somebody who's just nervous because the in-laws are coming, well, take one. Somebody who can't go to sleep because their mind is racing and I got to remember first thing tomorrow not to forget to do these things. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to give them some homework to do, like jot all those, just dump your mind onto a piece of paper. But maybe take 2 of these at bedtime to make sure that you get some sleep before that presentation tomorrow. So
you bring up some excellent points there.
Yeah, there's some guidance. Y'all are providing great information for me to guide my clients. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, great explanation there. And also, too, in your explanation, you really described the perfect candidate for this product, Racing Mind Relief. What a great name. If you're like me, monkey mind activity going on, maybe you lay down at night and you think about all that you need to be doing. Maybe you think about a family member and the journey that they're going through. Or maybe it's maintaining that mental focus, that clarity throughout the day. That's what Racing Mind Relief is all about. And actually, we're going to be doing a live giveaway in just a few moments from now. So go on in the comments section, put in #mind. Is that the hashtag that we're doing, Kelly, for this one?
That is the one.
#mind. So go on and do that. But this formula, truly science-based ingredients in fully disclosed amounts. We'll talk a little bit more about it after the giveaway here. Let's do it.
But I want to say that y'all's is a really nice blend of art with the science, because that kind of combination for that particular product and others that you have, you can have the science in there, but you are bringing an art to the product in the way that you are formulating and putting minerals with botanicals. It's a lovely formula. It really is.
I have to say really quickly before we do this drawing, my husband was part of the formulation team on this product, and it's very personal to us. He formulated it, of course, with myself and my racing mind, and also one of our children in mind, and it is awesome. So
it's a really good product.
It's a great one. So I think we can go ahead and draw our next winner for Racing Mind Relief, keyword relief.
This is fun watching the names spin.
All right.
Oh, awesome. So we will get a hold of you after this ends, Carol, and get you your product. Congrats.
Congrats, Carol.
You're going to love it.
So with Racing Mind, if we could get that back up on the screen here, I wanted to draw, there's so much greatness going on. You mentioned the magnesium, Dr. Fleetwood, and who doesn't need magnesium, right? But look at the beautiful purple saffron flower. What a beauty saffron is right there in the right bottom corner. Just that one ingredient alone, look at that 28 milligram amount per serving that you're getting. That directly corresponds to the clinical research on that ingredient at 28 milligrams per day over 4 weeks was found to reduce the confusion, the tension, the anger, all of those emotional components that can come with that racing mind and the stresses of life. Also increased vitality, improved sleep quality. And once again, with this formula, it's about the calm focus, the calm clarity without being drowsy. So that's the key part of it, but an incredible formula.
And that's why I'm saying y'all have let the science inform the art. This is a gorgeous product. Well done. Well done, HR.
Beautifully said. And before we leave transparency, let's talk about disclosing the botanical source of a nutrient on the label. Really important. I think it's no secret for most of us on this call this evening that there's a lot of synthetics out there in supplement land, and especially with the vitamin products. And before we dive into, we thought we would talk about vitamin C because it's probably in almost everyone's medicine cabinet across the country, a really important nutrient. But we're going to launch a poll right now. And before we dive in, I want to know from you guys, where does most vitamin C in supplements come from? So choose your answer. And this is how you're going to be entered to win a bottle of our Whole Foods C complex at the end. So all you have to do is type in the number and send it over. So if it's corn, 1, if it's acerola, 2, lanolin, 4, we'll give you just a moment to make your selection.
This is fascinating. Look at all those votes for corn. Got some rose hips. Rose hips is growing. Oh,
not too much love for lanolin, though.
Chad, whenever you're ready, we can stop the poll and
Okay.
we'll choose your winner from the comments, and we'll let you know after tonight's webinar who you are at the end.
Thanks, Kelly. So yeah, we'll go on and close out the poll.
And then are you going to let them know the correct answer?
Let's see if you got it right. The correct answer is corn.
Yeah.
That comes as a shock oftentimes to people. GMO corn at that. The reality is, though, with ascorbic acid, what we call vitamin C, which you often see on labels, regardless of the starting source, there are so many stages of chemical processing that are used to change glucose into ascorbic acid. Acetone, chemical solvents, or GMO bacteria is often used. So many different stages. And we share this with you not to be scary, but just so that we can all agree what we're left with at the end of the day does not even resemble what nature created in food, right? I know, Dr. Fleetwood, you're super passionate about this concept.
Well, and all this fractionated stuff, like vitamin C is so big and vibrant and has all of its buddies with it, just like any of the B vitamins. B1 does not walk in through food to us by itself. It's always with its other B vitamins. So when we say ascorbic acid equals vitamin C, that's like taking a picture of your ear, Chad, your ear, and then posting that up for, hey, I'm looking for this person. Has anybody seen Chad? He looks like this. No, that's just Chad's ear. Ascorbic acid is such a little fraction of what vitamin C is. And Linus Pauling, who did all the research on vitamin C and took it down to its lowest level of ascorbic acid in the lab and won the Nobel Prize for that, said, please don't do this. This is not vitamin C. Vitamin C is this big, robust thing. Please don't fractionate and call it that it's big name. It doesn't work like that. Wow.
Really good point. Ascorbic acid is just truly the tip of the iceberg. Whole food provides so much synergy, so much working together. And we live in a time where a lot of people are wanting whole food nutrients. And so a lot of brands are marketing their product as being whole food. So if you get a vitamin C and it has citrus fruit on the front, has oranges on it, or it says whole food, look at the supplement facts and see if they're actually disclosing the food that it's coming from. If not, chances are it might be synthetic. If you look at Whole Food C complex, you'll see the source is amla fruit, that wonderful nutrient-rich food that dates back thousands of years in Ayurvedic medicine, highly celebrated for all of its wonderful nutritional properties for immune health, skin health, eye health, digestive health, and beyond. Many of you have probably taken a synthetic vitamin C before and felt that acidity in your GI tract, or maybe it could have upset your tummy. Maybe you had some digestive distress with it. When you get the whole food extract, you're not just getting that vitamin C, but the beneficial tannins, the naturally occurring bioflavonoids, that synergy of nutrition, so it behaves harmoniously in the body. You've got that full synergy of nutrition at play. Same with the bioflavonoids, the quercetin that you see here, also not synthetic from botanical sources.
If anybody is suffering from allergies, just saying, this is a fabulous product.
That's a really good point, because it's so much more than just the vitamin C, right? You've got the quercetin going on.
Vitamin C is a great antihistaminic agent, but it's running out to grab the histamine that's already been spewed out of the mast cells. Quercetin and the bioflavonoids hold the mast cells so that they're not spitting out the histamine. So it's a double whammy for decreasing a histaminic response. Fantastic for allergies.
I love it.
I do too.
Moving into our focus on quality, and we're going to be talking about testing and safety and all of that. But a big part of that focus at AzureWell, especially when it comes to the vitamins that we're providing, is whole foods first. That's a big part of our formulation philosophy, because as Dr. Fleetwood was just sharing about what we were discussing, synthetic vitamins are just the tip of the iceberg. As naked synthetic isolates, sometimes they don't behave very well in the body. Using the comments section, share with us, have you ever had that experience of taking a multivitamin and you get the nausea from it? Maybe the digestive distress. Maybe that's our body sharing with us, this is not harmonious. Something is not right here, right? So truly, whole foods first. We talked about the amla and the vitamin C it provides. What about moringa leaf? One of my favorite foods on the planet, so nutrient dense. The moringa tree, so much nutrition. And we've often known through the years that moringa is a great natural blood sugar support. And now modern science has found that moringa is rich in chromium, a mineral that we also know helps support healthy blood sugar. Curry leaf has been used for years as a blood builder, as a restorative food. Now modern science has confirmed it's rich in iron, but whole food, non-constipating, gentle iron, not that synthetic, constipating, digestive, disturbing iron, right? So that whole food approach. And this is really important in terms of transparency and quality for us to all be aware of. We're all seeking whole food vitamins now. We're trying to move away from synthetic and get nutrients from food. And the supplement industry recognizes that movement that consumers are advocating for. So because of that, in the last 15 years or so, a lot of brands now are marketing their products as whole food, food-based, whole food fermented. You see a lot of different marketing terms on a label. But the reality is that we all have to be aware of is just because it says whole food on a label that's not necessarily a guarantee that the nutrients themselves are coming from food. Actually, the label that you see here on the left, a popular multivitamin that's on the market, it markets itself as being food-based. But the vitamins that you see here are all isolated synthetic forms. What they've done is they've added a little pinch of food powder to the base of it. So they blended those foods with the synthetic vitamins and called it food-based. In the early 2000s, the fermented multivitamins started emerging on the market. And they call it whole food fermented. But the reality is, these nutrients are typically still coming from synthetic forms. They feed that synthetic form to the yeast and call it whole food fermented, but the nutrient itself is still synthetic. So if you see ferment media on the supplement facts, or maybe you see yeast in the other ingredients, chances are they're using the synthetic and feeding it to the yeast. Now, please don't get me wrong. We love fermented foods at Azure, those life-giving whole fermented foods. But that is not necessarily what this is. This is the synthetic fermentation. And I know, Dr. Fleetwood, this comes up quite often with your clients, right? The whole food approach and what's real, what's not, and the yeast factor.
It does. And when the yeast that is being spoken about here is Saccharomyces cerevisiae, which is wild yeast. It's easily grabbed from the atmosphere. However, there are certain clients, patients, people that should not be consuming things grown on Saccharomyces cerevisiae, those with inflammatory bowel disease. There is a lab test to determine what is the difference between Crohn's and ulcerative colitis in somebody who's having inflammatory bowel. And one of those tests is anti-Saccharomyces cerevisiae antibodies. That's the distinguishing feature for Crohn's patients. And what that means is their bodies are actively fighting against Saccharomyces cerevisiae. And back in the day, one of my favorite nutritional companies was growing almost everything in Saccharomyces. And I called the company and said, is this a problem? Because theoretically it should be. In my mind, it could be. I'm very cautious and actually kind of moving people away from your product if they have Crohn's, because it seems to me like your product grown on Saccharomyces cerevisiae could cause a flare. So that's a concern that I have with Saccharomyces.
It makes good sense. And it's another reminder, too, that there's no one size fits all, right? So we definitely need label transparency so we know what we're working with. So happy to share with you, AzureWell's Whole Food Multivitamin is true whole food nutrition. We're actually going to be giving away a bottle of this as well at the end tonight. So if you'd like to be entered into that drawing, go on in the comment section and put in #multi, and you'll be entered into that drawing. But what you see right here on the front of the bottle, it says synthetic free. That is disclosed proudly right on the front of the bottle. And I know it's a little blurry, but on the supplement facts, you do see the word natural in front of each of these nutrients. Every one of these nutrients, the A to Z nutrients that you see right here, every one of them, with the exception of the D and the B12, is coming from this these organic botanicals that you see right here. So extracts of that organic amla fruit, that's the main contributor to that vitamin C.
Mm-hmm.
The curry leaf, that's the main contributor to the whole food non-constipating iron that you see here. Let's see what else. This says banya leaf, the main contributor to biotin. The moringa, the main contributor to chromium. So true whole food nutrition, other cofactors maintained. The folate, food folate. Organic lemon peel is the main contributor to the food folate. No added synthetic folic acid.
Love that.
Even the D3 is coming from a food source, lichen, which has been in the human food chain for hundreds of years. Lichen actually makes D3 naturally in the wild in sunlight. as opposed to lanolin, which is what we've always used in the supplement world, that does have to be irradiated to create that D. And then multiple chemical solvents are often used to extract it. You'll see very minimal other ingredients. In fact, just jasmine rice bran there. And then finally, I do just want to mention vitamin B12. What an incredibly important nutrient B12 is. Has so many different functions in the body, brain and nervous system health, methylation. And it's come to my attention, what most people supplement B12 for is often for energy concerns, energy production. And I did want to point out, AzureWell provides both bioactive forms of B12 in the multi, both bioactive forms of B12 in the B complex, not just the methylcobalamin, but also the adenylyl form, adenylcobalamin. That's actually the form of B12 that's active in your mitochondria that directly supports ATP energy production. So both bioactive forms of B12. So make sure that you put in #multi in the comments section and you will be entered to win.
And just a little comment on your B12, as opposed to a prescription B12 or most other B12s, which is cyanocobalamin, as in cyanide. We really don't need to be ingesting cyanocobalamin. So thank you for making something that the body can actually make use of.
Really great point. Yeah, those are the biologically active forms. No extra conversion required for your cells to utilize them. Great point, Dr. Fleetwood. So with quality, we've talked about using science-based ingredients, very intentional formulas, whole food vitamins, bioactive forms of nutrients. But it's also about ensuring what you see on the label is truly what you're getting inside that capsule, right? So how do we ensure the purity? How do we make sure that the potency declaration on the label is accurate, the consistency? And that really comes from the third-party testing. We want you to know that we very strictly adhere to FDA's current good manufacturing practices under 21 CFR 111. Those are those standards that the FDA has put in place to try to ensure safety, purity, potency, and we're really thankful for them. We really follow those, but we don't stop there. We want you to know, and every supplement brand you purchase from should be doing this. There's a lot of variables with supplements. There's a lot of ways for things to slip through the cracks. So that's why AzureWell maintains full documented control over the entire supply chain, from sourcing, formulation, production, final testing, and with that third-party testing, really advanced analytical technologies are used. The chromatography, the spectrometry. And why is that so important? Well, we're going to give you an example right now. And this is kind of some dark information, but it is the reality. Empowerment begins with the information, right? We've got to raise the bar.
Yes.
For the industry. What did you say, Dr. Fleetwood?
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power, absolutely. And botanical adulteration is something that is occurring in supplement land. And what on earth is adulteration of botanicals? That is either the intentional or the accidental substitution, addition, or dilution of an ingredient in a formula. Oftentimes, suppliers are doing this to lower their cost, boost their profit margin, or to mask poor quality. And sometimes, often it's the most sought after botanical medicines, the most popular herbs that are the most prone to adulteration. The American Botanical Council, what a wonderful organization. They've done so much to preserve herbal traditional knowledge, herbal healing, support, also the modern scientific validation of a lot of the herbs, their chemical profiles, but they've also done a lot to get the word out on adulteration and also how to guard against adulteration. In 2024, they released a really exhaustive report where they compiled data from 78 different publications, and they found so many of the herb samples, the botanicals, were adulterated or mislabeled. Ginkgo biloba leaf, a great example. one of the most used, most prized herbal medicines across the globe, often used for brain health, circulatory health. Over half of the samples tested turned out to be adulterated. In many cases, suppliers were actually using an entirely different plant. And the plant that they were using, they were being sneaky. They were using another plant because it had a similar chemical profile. So if someone was just doing really basic testing, it might have passed on through.
Wow.
Black cohosh. How many of us have taken echinacea root for our immune health, right? In the case of echinacea, 28% of the samples tested turned out to be adulterated. In the case of echinacea, suppliers were either using other parts of the plant that were cheaper, not the medicinal parts of the plant like the root, or other species entirely, not the two most researched active forms of echinacea. And turmeric, who doesn't love turmeric, right? You've got that wonderful compound curcumin, powerful antioxidant you find in turmeric.
Mhm.
My friends, synthetic curcumin has now entered supplement land. And you have to use specific methodologies in order to guard against it. So that is why it is so imperative that we work with independent, highly reputable third-party labs like you see on your screen, the best of the best, like Alchemist Labs, Eurofins. And it's not just the reputation of these labs, but it's really the technology that they have, the validated methodologies. They can do the most complex, the most demanding assays. And the reality is, FDA GMPs that we mentioned, they require brands to verify their label claims, their purity, but they don't tell you exactly which analytical methods you have to use to ensure that accuracy, that reliability. So we want you to know that we do everything within our power to earn your trust and make sure our labels are accurate, defensible, and worthy for you. So we're going to use a product, and this is actually one of the last stops along the way tonight. We're getting really close to the giveaways and the grand prize, and then we'll do a few Q&As, which will be fun. But we're going to use our wild-caught Alaskan cod liver oil as an example of some of the things that we've been talking about tonight in terms of transparency, sourcing, and testing. And we wanted to use this as an example because what could be more important than those omegas? They nourish the membranes of almost every cell in your body, right? Incredibly important for heart, brain, eye, skin health, overall health. And I'm sure many of you might take an omega-3 fish oil. It's in most medicine cabinets across the US. But even though there's hundreds of different brands of omega-3 fish oil, oftentimes most of them are all originating from the same source. If you see sardine, anchovy as the source, most often it's being caught off the coast of Peru, shipped all the way to China for processing, and really intense processing, by the way, and then shipped all the way back to the US for encapsulation. So we're talking about thousands of miles travel around the globe. So AzureWell's wild-caught Alaskan cod liver oil, sourced right here in the USA from the pristine Bering Sea of Alaska, very gently processed to maintain full spectrum nutrition. So not just the EPA and DHA, but other nutrients as well, other omegas, the naturally occurring vitamins A and D. But also, as you see here on your screen, third-party verified, third-party tested for the purity factor. We actually work with Eurofins, a really respected independent third-party lab. They test our oils for rancidity, for freshness. They test for heavy metals, industrial contaminants, and look at the sample of potency testing from Eurofins on our product. This is way beyond just EPA and DHA. This is the full synergy of omega nutrition that nature created. So very different than what we often find in fish oils. And go on and enter to win. Here at the end, we're also going to be giving away a bottle of our wild-caught Alaskan cod liver oil. Using the comments, put in #wild for this one, and that will enter you to win. Dr. Fleetwood, I know that you use our wild-caught Alaskan cod liver oil as well.
I do, yes. It's one of my
And
top two products. Your cod liver oil, I like the liquid, and your Whole Foods multi. Pretty much everybody is on those two products.
it's pretty foundational, the micronutrients and the omegas. It's a good
Yeah.
foundation. It's a good starting place, right?
And the
It's
trace
really
minerals.
it's
Yeah.
really an omega that checks all the boxes. And something I wanted to point out too, the flavor. We actually just came out with the liquid versions just a few
Mhm.
months ago of our
Yep.
cod liver oil. We have lemon, mint, and cinnamon. And you'll be happy to know it's not flavored with artificial flavors. It's not even flavored with natural flavors, because those can be kind of freaky sometimes too. It's actually
Yep.
flavored with natural essential oils. So even that is truly natural. But that is our wild caught Alaskan cod liver oil. We could do a whole session just on
Yes,
this
we could.
at some point. So stay tuned for that
Absolutely.
in the future. But one of the last things that I want to share with you when seeking a supplement of integrity, a brand that you might be purchasing from when it comes to dietary supplements, we really encourage you to ask of that brand, will they provide a detailed certificate of analysis, lot specific certificate of analysis? That is written assurance of purity, potency, composition, identity, and strength. This is a little sample of a C of A on this is actually on our magnesium G, our magnesium glycinate product, which is really incredible. So it's one of the few, might be one of the only magnesiums I've ever seen with no additives in the other ingredients. So it's not just a great form, but really,
Nice.
really clean as well. But when you're looking at a C of A, make sure it has that content that you need. Make sure it's lot specific. If they're not giving you the lot, it doesn't tell you too much, right? What is the methodology used for the potency testing? What is the methodology used for the purity testing, the microbes, the heavy metals? What are the results and what were the standards? What were the specs for those? Really important. But we always will provide you that C of A anytime that it's requested. So from all of us at AzureWell, the whole team you see here at AzureWell, we take our roles very seriously, remaining true to our founding principles. We promise you that we will do everything in our power to continue to uphold those high standards of quality, of efficacy. What a great team. I have to say, a team with not only big brains, but big hearts as well. And as you see here, Dr. Fleetwood has joined us. She's now on our practitioner advisory board. So lending
Woo!
her expertise, her wisdom to really looking at our formulas and actually giving us real-time data on the efficacy of the products out there in the field being used with our clients. So that's highly valuable. We're super excited that you've joined us in that mission, Dr. Fleetwood. And I have to tell you, I know that we're getting close on time, but I haven't been with Azure very long, but in the short time, there's been several moments where through the due diligence of the team, through the scrutiny, they have found little things in the supply chain that are actually big to us that don't uphold those high standards that have been set. And I'm happy to share with you in every case, the production was stopped. Sometimes the product goes out of stock and it's only going to hit the shelves and enter your hands if it upholds that high quality standard. So it's been really cool to see that integrity at work. So from the Stelzer family and from all of us at Azure, we thank you so much for your support. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow, our decisions will continue to be guided by our founding values, not by investors. We'll continue to be independent and family owned and always work to maintain the trust of you guys, the trust of those that we serve. So thank you so much for being here. Thanks for partnering with us to inspire healthy and abundant living. And before we do our giveaways, I'm going to turn it over to Kelly, and then we'll do a few Q&As for those of you that would like to stay on.
Thank you, Chad. That was wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Fleetwood. The chat is very lively. So we wanted to extend this special offer to everyone here tonight. If you go to azurestandard.com and order anything out of the AzureWell line and use the promo code AzureWell20 at checkout, you will get 20% off of those AzureWell products. This is specific to AzureWell products. This does expire May 31st. So if you have a drop that comes a little bit later, you're going to want to go ahead and check out by May 31st. But you can always add to your cart after you do that. So we wanted to extend that to you. And then now we're going to announce some of the winners that we were running in the background and do our grand prize. So I will start with Cindy Griffith. You won the Whole Food C, so we will get a hold of you after this. And I have Julie Kolosinski won the cod liver oil. And this is our grand prize winner. Is that correct? Christina Veen. Sorry for the name incorrectly. We will get a hold of everyone after tonight's presentation to make sure that you get your products.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kelly. This was fun. I can't believe the hour flew by. That went so fast. But yeah, thank you all so much for being here. Any of you that need to hop off, we certainly understand. And let's see, we've had a few questions come over tonight, and let's look through and answer some of these.
Excipient. Let me tell you what excipients are. It's just the fancy word that means all the other ingredients, the fillers, the flow agents, all the other things. That's
Great.
what the excipient is.
And Dr. Fleetwood, I see someone is asking, why is magnesium stearate harmful? I know that you can address that, but really fast, I want to share, stearic acid is a fat. It exists in nature. I believe maybe coconut oil might have stearic acid in it. Magnesium certainly exists in nature, yes. But to the best of my knowledge, magnesium stearate does not exist in nature. That is a laboratory creation. And Dr. Fleetwood, what are some of the issues with magnesium stearate?
The biggest issue is it's a fat, and it's used when you're doing fast manufacturing. So you've got to lube the tube because you're shooting a bunch of ingredients that land inside a capsule. But when you've got a fat that's being exposed to oxygen with this fast moving substance going through the tubing, oxidized fats are rancid. So we are using a fat to lubricate a tube for fast manufacturing that's now going to coat the ingredients that you are trying to get in your system with an already rancid fat. Now, when I tell you that McDonald's French fries won't ever decompose, you'll go, oh, well, yeah, sure. But I'm talking about that level of fat. And now you're taking it in a supplement, you're taking it in with a pharmaceutical, whatever. Your body has to have fat. And just like the nasty fries, okay, I used to eat them all the time, but I don't any longer because I know better now. Our brain has to have fat. Our cell membranes are made out of fat. So we're going to take whatever the fat is that we choose to give it through what we consume. And if it's magnesium stearate fat that we're giving the body, then that's the fat that's on hand to be incorporated into our cell membrane. That means that the cell membrane that's supposed to be all liquidy and fluid and moving and grooving can't. Then you're not going to be able to have good communication from one cell to the next, or from even within that own cell, because it can't move like it's supposed to. This is the beginning of chronic disease. Stay away from mag stearate.
Excellent answer. And also, Dr. Fleetwood, to go along with that, Molly's asked, can someone post the 3 ingredients that you mentioned at the beginning to avoid? So I believe those were
magnesium stearate, parabens, ethylparaben, methylparaben, butylparaben, because they're all estrogen-like, which means they're going to mess with your endocrine system. And then sodium benzoate. Sodium benzoate is put in a lot of liquids, especially dark liquids, think dark sodas or fruit juice. And the problem with sodium benzoate is that it helps your body grow tumors, whether they're cancerous tumors or benign, but who wants to walk around growing tumors? And the crazy thing is, if there's ascorbic acid in the same environment as the sodium benzoate, like a soft drink or a fruit juice, it makes the tumor potentiation that much stronger. It's a double whammy of badness. Stay away from these things.
Absolutely. I see Sandra has asked a great question. Are fermented supplements healthier than other forms? Here's the thing. We absolutely love fermented food at Azure.
Foods.
Some of the
Fermented
healthy,
foods.
that's the key word, right? Some
Yeah.
of the healthiest foods on the planet, the miso, the sauerkraut, the kimchi, a good sourdough bread, which we have excellent sourdough bread now at AzureWell. That's a whole other topic for another day. We have a fermented beet powder that we offer. We love fermented food, but oftentimes what we talk about in supplements with the multivitamins we mentioned tonight are not fermented foods, they're fermented synthetic forms of vitamins. And, the reality is when that technology first came out in the early 2000s, that was revolutionary at the time. And it did seem to offer greater bioavailability. For the first time, a lot of people that always had nausea when taking regular multivitamins were finally able to take one. But now we've come further than that. Rather than taking something synthetic that's dead and trying to revive it through bacterial or yeast fermentation, why don't we start with organic, real food and use processes to maintain that nutrient and the cofactors and benefit from all the harmony that it provides? But a really great question there. Let's see. Are any ingredients sourced from outside the US? Absolutely. Botanicals grow best where they grow best. The soil, the climate, the topography of the land, all of those things impact the nutrition and the healing potential of that food. So in terms of quality, it's not always about the country of origin. It's about how it's grown, number one, and number two, the third-party testing behind it for the purity and the potency validation.
I see one here for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any guidance for those with insulin resistance? Oh yeah, I got guidance for anything you got. If you're asking for a supplement, well, I'll tell you a couple things, because while I do use supplements, my job is to get people off their drugs and then off most of their supplements, keeping in mind that I've got people dumping bags of supplements on my desk, right? So for insulin resistance, it's a lifestyle. So there are lots of lifestyle pieces that I would love to impart. You might be interested in my book, actually. But the big lifestyle piece, one of the big things is to take a walk, a fairly brisk walk, just 20 minutes after your largest meal, because that helps your insulin receptors become more receptive. Now, if you're looking for something to swallow as a supplement, Azure happens to have a blood sugar help. What's that called? It's AzureWell's blood glucose support. Yeah? Is that what it's called, Chad? Anyway, I have not been this excited about a supplement company, maybe ever. And I was all this excited well before they asked me to be part of the advisory team. So I have been very pleased. And I'm very not happy with the way that the industry is moving. So to have AzureWell come into existence at this point in time is a godsend, honestly. I am that thrilled. And then Kayla's asking, for a job that works alternating swings, nights, what supplements would be helpful for the exhaustion and toll it puts one through? Kayla, honey, you need a different job. But while you're looking for a different job, there is help, and that racing mind might be helpful for you. so that you can sleep during the day when you're supposed to be up and active. But people who work swings like that, working the night shift, my own, I had to counsel, like, honey, this is not going to be good for you long term. It's not. And I get that somebody's got to do it. And if you're a health practitioner, you're a nurse, you're working the night shift, you've got the emergency room shift, whatever, I get it. But it's not going to work well for you in the long haul. Okay. Citric acid is sort of like ascorbic acid. It's taking a picture of Chad's toe as if that were Chad. It's just not the same as vitamin C. And citric acid is typically used as a preserving agent, not a nutritive anything. I require gluten-free. I don't see that on your list. A lot of the supplements are gluten-free. I would say the bulk of them are. I mean, why would you have gluten in a supplement?
Yeah, we really strive to avoid gluten and allergens in the formulation of our products. And if there is a potential allergen present, you'll always see that fully transparently disclosed on the label. I see a question that comes up all the time. Mm-hmm. Magnesium has become one of the top supplements that people reach for, and for good reason, because magnesium is so important for so many different functions in the body. So many different enzymatic processes require magnesium. So the question from Celeste is, which is the best magnesium form to take? And we think the answer to that question is the most bioavailable one.
Right.
Because magnesium, in order for it to be effective, in order for you to get the benefits, it's got to be bioavailable. And a lot of forms of magnesium tend to be quite unstable. So if you take a magnesium form and it causes loose stool, that lets you know that it was not a bioavailable form. So if you're trying to take it as a natural laxative, maybe you want magnesium oxide, maybe you want magnesium citrate. But if you want the true benefits of magnesium for the brain, the heart, energy production, muscle relaxation, and beyond, you probably want a bioavailable gentle form. So what we offer in our Magnesium G is that magnesium is stabilized with the protein, the amino acid glycine. And glycine, the amino acid, has so many other benefits to it, but it does a wonderful job stabilizing that magnesium for its digestive journey so you can actually absorb and utilize it. So we've got so many great questions that have come over. So thank you guys so much. We're gonna let's get back. We need to figure out in the next couple of weeks how we can. Hopefully, we'll see if Dr. Fleetwood's available and see if we can get together and answer some of these. Maybe we can do a social media post, or who knows. But I would love to explore further. That would be fun. Well, anyway, I said we wrap it up. We're an hour and 15 minutes tonight, but this has been so much fun. Thank you, Dr. Fleetwood, again for joining. Your passion, your caring nature, how much you care is so contagious. You just rev up everyone's batteries. So thank you for being you, and thank you for joining. And thank you all for making time for this tonight. We look forward to doing it again in the future. So we will talk again soon. Bye, everyone.
Okay.